All right, so how cool would it be if you could take this little guy, pop it open, and all the software on here you understand from top to bottom, start to finish. It's all documented and you understand all the software. Of course, I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about your cell phone, your laptop, your computer, all that stuff. That's what I want to talk about right now. So let's get down to it. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about me and you, pal. If you're watching this, I'm talking to you and I'm talking to me. So what are we talking about? Well, re-implementing open source versions of software you already use. That's what I'm laying out in this video. If that doesn't interest you, please move on. But where are we going to do it? My friend, we're going to do it on PageKey.io, which is the website for this channel, and GitLab.com/PageKey. We're going to do it right in the open on GitLab. When are we going to do it? 2024, baby, and beyond. Hopefully we'll make weekly progress, but I don't want to be doing it all by myself. Anyway, why? Why would we do this? Well, it's fun to learn as we do these things. You can audit what data is collected from you in these applications once you've built them yourself. You can experiment with a common stack between them. I think we're getting to the point where we can share a common stack for all these different types of applications. You can cover a code base just the way you cover a song. More on that later. But I think we're approaching a post-code base world. Not quite, but we're getting to the point with AI assisted, writing code with AI assistance, all that stuff. People can implement much more complex software. Plus, there's all this open source software increasingly available. You can cover a code base. You can do certain things yourself that previously would have required a whole tech startup to do. So how are we going to do this? Well, I want to start live stream coding. I've never done it before, but I want to experiment with that format. Design docs, more on that later. That's something out of GitLab that they recommend, and it seems to work really well. So let's see if we could do that. Condensed lessons and summaries, post those as lessons are learned as we're doing this stuff. So that's what I'm thinking there. And this is all about Take Back Tech, which I've never really fully explained, but I do keep referencing it on this channel. What do I mean by that? From whom are we taking back tech? From people you don't know. What do I mean by that? Well, it's on computers that you don't own. And yeah, so what if you want to be digitally self-sufficient? That's what we're talking about with Take Back Tech. Because there's all the talk about the cloud. For the past 10 or 15 years, it's been all the rage. But what is the cloud really? If you think about it, the cloud is just other people's computers. Why not throw an acronym on it? OPC, other people's computers. You have other people with servers hosting software, and then you're just accessing it through the internet. So what's stopping you from breaking away from this centralized way of doing things and putting it on your own computer? Think about it. What if you knew these people? What if it was someone in your community that was hosting this? What if Bob the plumber was hosting your email server? Would you think twice about Bob? Would you think, is Bob reading my emails? All right, I'm not going to get too schizo about this, but I'm just saying that there's a large amount of trust involved with these faceless companies that we're trusting with our data. So what's the alternative? Self-hosting. You take on the responsibility of hosting these things yourself. Yes, it's a lot more work, but it's on hardware that you own, and you know all the software in it. You're responsible for the security. If you get hacked, it's on you. So experimentally, how would this work? I think it's a good intellectual exercise. I don't know if it's really practical to do this for everything, but how would sharing data work? Well, you'd have to go through federation. I don't know much about it, but federation is you have all these instances of people self-hosting things. How do they communicate? How do they agree who's who and how to send data between themselves? So I don't know much about that yet, but I'll have to figure it out. So let's talk about, again, the instance of a cover song. Well, we also have a cover code base. That's what we're thinking about here. We're doing cover code bases of things that already exist. Now, why would we do that? Well, same reasons you'd cover a song. You love the original, you want to make it your own, and you want to learn how it works. So, all of this is intended to be open source. So, as I make these videos, I'm not going to focus on editing. As you can see, I'm just throwing around index cards instead of doing slides or something like that. I want to focus on education, any lessons that can be gleaned from doing something like this. I want to focus on documentation so that people can pick up where I left off if I get hit by a bus or whatever, and ensure that others can jump in at any point. And in order to do that, we're going to have to make this incremental doing a little piece at a time and documenting it and making sure that it's fully available in public. And we'll have to make it stateless. And by that I mean I can't have any secret notes about this stuff that I'm working on publicly. It all has to be out in the open, and the incremental part will be we'll all look at this stuff that's out in the open, probably just me, but maybe we could find some other people to do it too. And we will increment on that stuff. We will make changes in GitLab, and that will be reflected in our product. So what kind of tech stack are we looking at here? Let's think about that. Well, I think Next.js is a strong candidate. That does the client and the server side for web apps. This is what I used for Boom languages. I've used it a bunch on different projects, and I think it's all around a really great way to develop an application. For web, now if you want to go mobile, you can actually fairly easily add capacitor.js to an existing Next.js app, and that will give you support on Android and iOS. It's all in a web view, of course, so nothing too crazy, but I don't think it's too hard to go and add some native code as well. But that doesn't cover desktop. But you know that this guy does, electron.js. I've never tried to integrate Next.js with Capacitor and Electron, but I'm hopeful that it's possible. So that would cover Mac, Windows, Linux desktop applications, all that stuff. Another note, Nextron is something that I found Googling around, seems to claim to do both Next.js and Electron, which would kill two of those birds with one stone. I don't know if it's going to fit our use case for this, but it's worth thinking about. Now design, how are we going to do the design? Well, GitLab has their handbook that's public online, and they talk about design docs. So if we can document everything in design docs, each feature in a design doc markdown file online that anyone can view, it's pretty great. So we'll see if that works out. And the good thing about design docs is they drive development before you've created it, and then once you're done, it serves as documentation for the existing feature. So the documentation effort does not go to waste. Live stream coding, never done it before, but it sounds like an interesting concept, so I'm going to try to do it in the context of all these different projects, and we'll see how it goes. So that's all well and good, but what are we actually talking about creating here? What kind of products? So I'm focused on, I really think that you can make an MVP of something without too much effort, get that core functionality working, and that's going to be the focus for a lot of these at first. Can we make a proof of concept to make this actually work? Then we can think about actually making it good, actually usable, maybe have some unique features that don't exist anywhere else, and get to be the best on the market. I don't know if we'll ever make it to step 4, but 3 is possible. Anyway, that's besides the point. What do we have actually concretely? Boom Languages is available right now at boomlanguages.com, but I've never released this code base before. What I'm going to do is start implementing this from scratch, open source, referencing my old code base, and using a fully public development cycle like I kind of just proposed. PKOS has always been public and open, and it's all about how to develop an operating system from scratch. Certainly not the first to do that, and certainly one of the worst projects, but it has been documented from start to finish, and it's kind of going for the same format that I'd like to do for these other projects. Tunes, plain text DAW, I think we could rename to Tunes and have something that lets people make music, open source, document it from start to finish. Key Reader, same thing. If you have a text document that's very long, maybe an ebook, and you want to read it, why can't you just flip through the pages and read it online, on your phone, whatever, and switch between audiobook with generated text to speech and reading with your eyes? So why can't you sync those two? Why do you have to pick in 2024 between an audiobook and reading with your eyes? I don't think you should. So that's what that's all about. It's an e-reader. And PKVid is all about automating video editing. There's already some videos out about this, so thinking about that. And then some things that don't actually exist yet that I think are interesting and should exist. Keycraft. There's a certain game with a similar name about voxels, and you work with little cubes. And I happen to like that game, and I'm curious how you would implement it with, I don't know, OpenGL, WebGL. How would you do that? How would you make a bunch of little blocks that you can edit in a game and make a little world and run around in the world? So that's what that's about. Open. This is just an idea that I have, and I'm not going to go into it right now. Pie in the sky ideas. Federated photo sharing. What if you could store your photos in your own private infrastructure and find a way to still share albums from your vacation or whatever event that you went to, and you took a bunch of photos, you want to send it to your friends, and they want to absorb it into their cloud and manage those files themselves as well. How does that work? I know Nextcloud exists, and it's fine and dandy, and it's implemented using like PHP and all that stuff. But what if we did it using a more modern stack? I mean, Nextcloud's great. We're probably never going to get to the point where we're actually as good as Nextcloud, but I'm just curious how all that works under the hood, and can we make it federated? How would that work? The granddaddy project right here, cell phone. How does your cell phone work? Are there modules, like a GSM module, but the GSM network is completely down in the US? Can you get a 4G phone working off of electronics? And once you do, how do you write an operating system for that? Can you own the full stack of your smartphone? Similarly, for like a laptop, how would you build a laptop from scratch? Can you take a CPU and figure out how to hook it up so that it has peripherals connected to it and it's an actual usable device? I can't even figure out how to buy a CPU, just the chip. It seems so complicated, and it's really not my expertise hardware. But anyway, I think it's an interesting problem. Car. I think this is interesting too, because really you just need to figure out how motors work. You just need to figure out how motors work. It's probably really complicated, but really you just need some wheels and a chassis, and then you have to figure out how to put some power on that thing. I don't know anything about this, so I don't know why I'm talking like it's easy. But boat. Okay, so this is actually a very easy MVP. You just need something that doesn't sink. Again, I don't know why I'm saying just, because that's probably still pretty hard. But once you have something that doesn't sink, you can use rows, and you can do it yourself with your own power. And then you can figure out how to put a combustion engine on that baby, or, you know, some batteries or something like that. So that's an interesting concept too. I'd love to document how to do that yourself from scratch. And that's about it. So now you have all of my ideas. You've seen them all, and keep on the lookout for videos related to this stuff, and hopefully it'll turn out to be something cool. This is the PageKey roadmap for 2024, as best as I can articulate it. Thank you for watching, and you know, subscribe for updates, whatever. Join the Discord, we'll talk about it, and yeah, I think that's it.